welcome back to another episode of Latinas Unboxed, where we talk about the difficulties that we face within our community. Say hi to the girls.
Hi.
Today we are talking about identity, which is something very big within our community, and seeing as this is called Latinas Unboxed, so I just wanted to ask you guys to kick-start it off. What box do you guys tick? Because I'm be ticking now. Please show me where the box is.
There is no box.
Where is who's there?
Me, I've been ticking prefer not to say, because if you don't want to give me a box, then I'm ticking none of them, because it's no.
I started to make my own box. I made my own box.
Yeah, Joanne literally started a petition.
Yeah, she did.
Yes.
How did that go? Not very well.
What do you think it did?
Explain it.
So a few people asked why it was Latinx Hispanic. So you asked me one. One thing was I did try to do Latinx and they didn't accept it. And then they kind of change it up for you. So whenever you do like a petition for Parliament, they review it before it goes live. And upon reviewing, I tried 4 times first of all. They had to change the language and I had to change the reason why, like 3, 4, 5 times. Then the one that was accepted or given to me was Hispanic as well. I was like, okay, at least it's something. So yeah, but I don't think a lot of Latin people resonate with Hispanic. So maybe that's why.
But it's better than nothing. But I think that's so sad that we're like almost have to be like grateful for whatever we're given. And it's just like, why can't we just have the Latinx Hispanic? Like,
do you know what the problem is
though? Not in everything, because I remember actually ticking a box and it said Latin American Hispanic.
I've never had that.
NHS.
It went
this was 2000.
Never seen that before.
I have a few.
It was the very first time, and I've never
Sometimes, but I haven't seen it lately.
We had one and they took it away.
No,
that's even more
it depends on the company, because there are some, like I know I've ticked some forms for like arts companies and they are a bit more open-minded. Then, you know, but even then, like Latin American / Hispanic, you know, I'd be like, well, okay, maybe, but I also don't really relate to Hispanic because that ties us to our colonizers, and I prefer that. For me
personally, I feel like if we get one place, we can get somewhere else. But I just think there's not enough of us yet for them to make it such a big deal.
And the thing that I also think as well, although we do all classify as Latinos, the thing with us is that we're so diverse and there's so many different technically identities within being Latin American and races. Ethnicity and race is 2 separate things, so it really just creates a whole different approach to everything, because people will have different views on it, and the fact that we can have different races within it, it makes it even more difficult in ourselves, because some of us don't even know what to identify as in our community, because I know for sure I've had that problem. So I don't know if any...
I was going to say, actually, like more recently, the more I've started to learn about, you know, our ancestry and our heritage, you know, as a continent, and I have been identifying more with like my indigenous descent. I sometimes, where it's applicable, I do see, I do tick Native American, because that is my race, right? I am Latina, but that's a cultural identity, it's not a race. And I wanted to ask you, what do you tick? Like,
that's the thing, I always pick other, because there's nothing that can relate. I would identify myself as a black Colombian.
So you don't identify black?
No.
Because what's your reasoning for it?
Because I identify myself as a black Colombian, and there's not a box that I can tick there.
What about the box that says black other? Do you click black other?
No.
Just other. Okay.
And if you had, for an example, if there was a Latino box, would you prefer to tick that, or would you prefer to tick a box that's like Afro-Latino?
No, I wouldn't be able to tick Latina, because again, it's
not you.
It's like you're constantly stuck with having to pick.
100%.
There's nothing like I can be a black Colombian.
Yes.
It's either I'm black or I'm
white.
Latina.
Another problem I also think is, depending on which community you're actually asking the question, is what you will identify as to them. So in UK, I would identify as white. In Colombia, I would identify as something I don't even know what I would identify as. So it's the fact that there's so many different mixes, and different countries identify you as different things, and that's where I think the confusion stems in.
But I think that's why there's a beauty in actually knowing where you are from and knowing who you are. And I'm such a huge hypocrite because only up until like half an hour ago. No, because I will admit, like, when people ask me, like, what do you identify as? I find it really uncomfortable because I don't know. Yeah. And I was reading something the other night, and it was like, when Latinos are asked what do they identify, it's not as easy, oh, I'm white or I'm black. Yeah, it's literally, it's like, there's so many, we come from so many different places. Our roots are like literally all mixed. So it's not only like one size fits all when it comes to being Colombian. And I actually done a DNA test thing, and then I've obviously got my results back. And it turns out that I am indigenous, like half indigenous, right? Yeah. And I don't know, but I never would have guessed it.
Yeah. What's the other half?
Just like a mestizo.
Black and white.
Black and white.
Black and
white.
I did one after every conversation with you, and it was the same. Yeah. Majority Indigena, and then there's something else from the other side, but.
Because I did
mine, but it was purely because I was tired that I wasn't enough to say I was an Afro-Latina, all because of the skin tone. It's like, blimey, like, what else do I have to show that? Okay, so an Afro-Latina. So I literally done it for a personal thing. Like, I was like, I want to be able to go out if someone says, oh, where are you from? Yeah, I'm Colombian, but also an Afro-Latina, and be proud of saying it because that's exactly what I am. And unfortunately, it's like, if you're not a darker skin, then you're not classed as an Afro-Latina. And I've got obviously Afro-Latinas within my circle who are lighter than me, and they feel the same way. It's like they can't, unless if you've got a DNA that can prove it, they don't feel comfortable to just say it out. I'm an Afro-Latina. I did my DNA as well, and it was hilarious because the other massive percent that I've got is Nigerian. And it was like, oh my gosh, I've always been an Afro-Latina, but I just wasn't able to say it. Now I'm like, I'm an Afro-Latina.
You know, I find that so crazy. Is that mostly within other communities or the Latin community itself?
I'll say mainly in our culture because sadly enough, it was such a big problem if you're black. Yeah. Everyone wants to. There was a saying that we had in one of our episodes where Aclarar, la raza is like such a massive thing. Like, so I don't think it's our generation now that I feel like we're digging more into our roots. With our older generation, there would never be a time that there will be like, oh, when you're investing, or like, where am I from? It was a bad thing if you was dark skinned because you're down there, you're not up there. Does that make sense? Yeah. So for them, it was a massive thing. So I don't think they went into finding out who they were. For me, it was a personal thing, and I thought, no, I need to find out que lo que yo tengo en mi raza para yo poder. Sorry, I forgot I was talking in Spanish. So I can feel comfortable to say I'm an Afro-Latina. Yes, from Cali. Yes, from Palmira. But I'm an Afro-Latina. I've got that in my blood. It goes way back, and my DNA is here to prove it. And in our culture, unfortunately, they just don't. And
I was going to
appreciate it.
Talk about the history of Mestizaje because I like talking about the history of things. Obviously, we
need that.
But it's important to understand why we here are all sat without being able to know what do I call myself. Oh, I have to prove that I'm something, right? Because this was actually something that was done, right? The idea and the concept of Mestizaje, right? It seemed progressive back in the 1900s or 1800s, 1900s. It seemed progressive because, you know, in the United States, they were like, no, segregation, marginalization of races. Whilst in Latin America, they were encouraging mixing and mestizaje, but really they were encouraging it not to unite the races so much, but as to whiten the race, right? And in encouraging this mestizaje, what they were also doing was denying black and indigenous identities and weakening our ties to our ancestry, right? So that's why we're all sat here. You got 50% indigenous, you got 50% indigenous, you got Afro and indigenous, but you were like, I don't know what to call myself. I don't know what I am because this was done to our nation, right? So we are essentially victims of colonization. We don't even know how to identify, and that's why so many of us hold on to this Latino identity, which is still tied to our colonizers who have done this like horrible, like this like they've abused our people because we don't know how to identify. I'm sorry, love.
No, because it's just so personal. Because I just feel like for 29 years I've just felt so confused. And when people ask me, I'm just like, I'm Colombian. That's it. Yeah. But
And you
like
don't know.
just finding out like what's in you, where your roots are actually from, like what's in your blood. It's just so powerful, and it's so like it's overwhelming.
It is
It is, and this is the journey that I've also undertaken, and I'm so glad that everyone's kind of like, you know,
Felt the same way and
reconnecting because it's so important. Because as soon as we reconnect to actually, yes, I'm Latina, but I am indigenous. I am Afro Latina. I have this in my blood, right? It means that, guess what? We can actually stand up for those communities in our countries because we are them. And the thing with Mestizaje was, if you were, so it was pushed as like, if you're mixed, like this is the future of this continent. You're mixed, right? But then it also created this, no, but mestizos are superior to black and indigenous. Right, so we all are like, no, I'm mestizo, I'm not indigenous, I'm not black. And what does that mean? It means that you join the oppressors, right? Because you are no longer the oppressed, right? So this is why I have an issue with like mestizaje and Latinidad in that sense, because it makes you feel superior or other to your ancestors.
And it's also you feeling like you can't identify as what you want to identify yourself as well, because like you say, the judgment of everyone else telling you that you're not that, even though you know and you feel and you have the proof that you are that. It's not being able to feel comfortable in your own skin to say I am this and this is where I come from.
I find that a lot from other cultures though, that don't understand what we
how mixed are we
and how mixed
are.
we are. A lot, and I can say this because I've got friends from all over. They actually don't know. It's ignorance as well, because they're not educated enough to know that, you know what, I'm not white, I'm not black, I'm everything.
But I think we need to educate, because if we're not educated, how other people can
that's true.
But then also everyone needs to be open to that, because it's not fair to be judging Latinas or Colombians and be like, no, but you're white, and we're saying to them, we're not, I'm mixed, I identify as a mixed raced person. That's what I identify, because that is what I am.
And that's what it is.
That's what it is, facts, that's what it is. And then they say to you, but how?
Also, I don't think we can completely forget about, obviously we've been saying we are all mixed and there's so many different ethnicities in our culture and everything, but there are purely white or purely black Latinos. So we do have to, bring value to that, because we have what we call, like sarcas, or we have really white people, and you have to understand that they come from our colonizers. It's a product of the colonization. And I wonder, I mean, I can't talk from experience, but I wonder how that feels. Do you know what I mean? Like accepting that, like being, like calling yourself Latino, Colombian, whatever, and identifying as fully white, blonde, blue-eyed, whatever. And understanding that your family are Spanish, Italian, like how, do you know what I mean? Has anyone had any?
I would love to see those comments below if anyone has.
If anyone has experienced that.
I would just add one thing to that, is that I think that the problem at the moment in South America is that no matter how dark you are, it seems that you always have a Spanish ancestor, and I think that's been romanticized. My dad, who's really, really dark skinned, he will be like, no, our ancestors were from the Basque part of Spain. And I'm like, Dad, look at yourself though. Do you look like a white, blue-eyed or green-eyed man? Like, no, you don't. Because of colonization. And I think that actually, he's never benefited from white privilege. like there are white Latinas in South America who very much benefit from being a white Latina.
I benefit from white privilege until they know my surname. You probably do as well. Most of us will
some privilege
to a certain extent, but we do, and that's what you have to be aware of.
Yes.
You have to accept that.
I think that's also where you're from and where you're based. I don't feel like I've ever felt that, in the sense of, because I'm in such a predominantly white area. Literally, like, I am the only Latina in basically in the whole area, growing up in school and stuff. So it feels very different in terms of where you are and where you're placed as well. What about with you being mixed in the sense of, but how did that feel?
Do you know what? this is a topic. Okay, so here with Colombians and Latins, it's always been Escobar. Here it's Saddam Hussein. I've never had, so you're either a terrorist or you're either a drug dealer, and it's never been. I'll be very honest and say, growing up, I don't think a lot of people have heard me say half Arab.
I've known you for so many years, and I've only just recently.
It's difficult because growing up, like, I don't identify with that side because my dad lived in Colombia pretty much his whole life. From really young, he speaks Spanish to me. He's like really, he's very Arab mentality, but he embraces.
Does he speak Arabic though?
Yeah, but I've never learned a word.
So you've been more immersed in the Colombian culture.
I know my mum's side. I don't really know my dad's side. I've met them once. And growing up as well, I didn't fit into like the Arab community because I was too promiscuous and I was too like belly tops and stuff. And in the Arab culture, it's rejected, like you're a slut. So I was slut shamed in that culture. Here I was like, yeah, but you're not really Colombian because you're not full. And it was like, all right, fuck, like, okay, I'm Colombian.
So it's a very big identity crisis.
It really affected me though, because I hated, I resented the Latin community for it. Especially growing up, it was like, yeah, you're not. And I'm not gonna lie to you. Even here right now, it's like, oh shit, but I'm the only half. Like, you know, it's still
but we want to represent. It's not your only half. You are half.
Yeah. It's still difficult though. I'll be honest, and I don't know how to educate myself on that side because I'll be honest, I don't really care for it. Like I don't connect to it. It's done nothing for me. I don't know the language. I don't know the family on that side. Like it's all my mum's side. I always go to Colombia 2-3 times a year. I've got that connection. I've been brought up with that. So yeah, it's been really, really, really difficult. And accepting it growing up has been really difficult. I'm learning to just be like,
So do you like because you just said because you just said that you don't care about it, is that the reason why you haven't like digged in deeper in your research in regards of Arab? Like, would you be open in mind to do it now? The fact that you're being more comfortable with saying that you're half.
I first want to know everything on the Colombian side
to know, it's because what you identify as like, really, because it's
like
growing up.
That's really sad though, because that's still half you, and that's your identity. So I know you say you don't care about it, but you should.
I know it's different.
You should.
It's very difficult. I've been so rejected by it, but especially from Arab people, like
1,000,000%.
Because
it's like loving someone that doesn't love you back.
I'd have to change my whole look to fit into that culture.
It's interesting because your identity dilemma, I feel, is not even that dissimilar to our identity dilemma, and so I just think identity is such a difficult, nuanced
very
subject.
Complex.
It's very complex.
I don't even know what Arabs are.
We're not going to figure it out in this room.
At least we know with Colombian, you're 1, 2, or 3, or a mixture. I don't have a fucking clue, mate. I'll let you guys know.
Do an
ancestry test.
But then also, like you were saying, like there's so many nuances and so many little different categories of identity and labeling. Like I think with us here, we have such a variety of like people being born in the UK or not being born here and coming over, and like, do we identify as British or Latina or British Colombian? Or because for example, for me, I have trouble saying I'm English.
Me too.
I'm not English.
I'm not English.
Our nationality is British. Our nationality is actually.
I've got dual nationality.
I have never felt the need to say I'm English.
Never.
Yes, we are all born in England, whatever. I'll happily say I'm British.
Yes.
I feel like a Londoner.
Yes.
That sounds really Aussie. Londoner. I definitely feel like a Londoner because I think being from London is such a specific thing. Like we have such a culture, such a lingo, such a vibe to us,
an openness, a melting pot.
Exactly, and I think we can be very proud of that of how multicultural London is, and then obviously being ethnic, it's something that we take on, but then it was like, for example, I winning a title that was Miss Great Britain
That's so
I never
crazy,
thought
isn't it?
would be so problematic.
Was it problematic?
It was.
In what way?
It was problematic in certain areas. Like for me, I think it was a huge step forward for la comunidad, for la comunidad latina, for us kind of being integrated.
Especially
because you have to
those years
remember
ago as
this was
well.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
So now when we're all talking, like having these conversations, like 10 years ago, it wasn't really a thing. And like I was the first Latina to win. Which in our community was really, really celebrated, and it was seen as such a positive thing.
Yeah.
But then in the
I can
British
imagine.
community, I was on the front page of the Metro newspaper saying, "Is this the best that we've got?" Like I remember, like people sending it to me, like the front page. Oh my God, you're on the front page, but don't read what it says, yeah, because it literally said, "Is this an English rose?"
Wow.
So open racism in the British press. If you don't get the love back from the culture or the community, it's not gonna propel you to want to learn about it. So where I felt a little bit rejected from the British community, and I had this title, I was like, yeah, I am representing, obviously, because I'm proud of where I was born, and I'm proud of where we live because my family came here to give us a better life. That's what I can say. But I also like, and I always said it, I was so grateful for the Latin community because if anything, they were the ones that gave me the time of day.
Yeah.
I had all the press from the Puerto Rican, the Mexican, the Colombian community. The Colombian press were incredible, saying, we have 2 paisanas representing us this year. And that was incredible because like, yeah, you feel more accepted.
Yeah.
I've been
He was even
born
on the
up
news in
here.
Colombia as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. It was like
Caracol.
primetime news. Like it was incredible that over here they didn't bat an eyelid.
Yeah.
But then you also have to think about like the nature of the competition, and it's always been a bit downgraded over here. But it was such an identity emphasizing situation in my life where I was like, wow, yeah, I do really feel way more attached to my Latin.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Definitely.
Who here was not born here?
I wasn't born here.
Do you guys feel really, really British even though you weren't born here?
You know, it's funny because I always feel that I am both. Funnily enough, because when I go to Colombia, I'm gringa. Because I have a very neutral Colombian Spanish when I speak Spanish. You know, it's not proper caleña. I don't have an English accent.
Yo que mija. No le entiendo.
Pero it's exacto. Like imagine, like, so I'm not fully Colombian when I'm in Colombia. I'm not fully British when I'm in the UK. But what I do feel like is I feel like a Londoner. Same as what you're saying. Yeah, I feel like a Londoner.
I feel like I feel both as well. Like I do feel Colombian. I identify myself as a Black Colombian, but it's hard to get everyone to accept my identity. That's the problem I have. In the British community, it's absolutely accepted. I can say I'm Black Colombian and they'll be like, okay, yeah, they want to know more. Whereas in the Colombian community or the Latin community in general, if I'm Black Colombian, now I have to justify why I'm Black Colombian. Or I have to maybe speak a certain way because me acento es como like, it's not like the typical accents of Colombian.
Yeah.
My accent is loud, rough accent, porteño accent, beautiful accent. Do you know what I mean? But obviously it's not what you stereotype as the accent that we're meant to have as Colombians.
Get you, because even me, where my family's also from, when I'm in Tura, if I was sent there for a while and then I come back to Cali and I would be speaking very rough, I'd get told off for speaking that way, and it's like, but that's half of me.
And then it's pointed out as aggressive or intimidating because of the way you speak.
And it's very different. And now that you're talking about even accents and stuff in the identities, like people pick that out very quickly. Yeah,
and like you were saying about being from, born over there and coming over here. Like they have this term that they've coined a lot in the US, ni de aquí ni de allá, or de aquí y de allá. Like there's been a huge social media movement about it. And I think over here it's really not spoken about, but we've literally just touched on it. And we, even being born here, you still feel, because there's de aquí y de allá, because you have so much that brings, like you said, you're a product of your environment. And especially growing up in the UK, you've brought all of these, attributes to you, and this is why you feel equally as British.
I actually feel more Colombian than probably the Colombians in Colombia.
I since I was really, really small.
You have to grab onto
it.
I was born here. Again, my mum, like, she never spoke to me in English because her thing was, I'm not going to speak to you in English macheteado because I don't speak very good English. So you are not going to raise yourself and talk like this forever. So with me, I will never forget, like, she says it to me. She said, when you went to nursery, you know, all you spoke was Spanish, even though you were born here.
It's crazy.
All you spoke was Spanish,
language.
and all they understood was agua. That was it. Like, all they understood that you would say was agua, agua, agua. And then I remember we were starting school and speaking English. I'd speak English to my mum and she'd be like, I don't understand you. I no entiendo Vanessa, por favor, español. And then it'll be like, okay. And from then, it's always been like, you are Colombian and you're proud to be Colombian. And I'll always say, I am Colombian. I was born in the UK, but I am Colombian. And when I go back to Colombia, I feel even more Colombian. I have a very thick Colombian accent, and I speak very, very well in English. So you wouldn't know that. If you're in Colombia, they have no, like, when they find out, they're like, oh my God, you were born in desde Londres. Usted nació en Londres. Inglesa. Inglesa. No. Set them straight. No, I'm not. I was born there. It doesn't make me English. I don't have English running through
the culture as well. It's in our blood. Like, our parents are literally from over there, so they raised us on that culture. For example, me, I wasn't allowed to speak English at home. My mum said, you speak English when you go to school. You just speak Spanish here, and that's it. I wasn't allowed to speak English. So it's like where our culture's been embedded in us. We are born British, but you don't feel that because we don't feel that at home. We feel that at school maybe, but even then you feel like the alien.
We've been very lucky, I think, also in that sense, being in London. I know you said you grew up a little bit outside, but I think we have been lucky that we have a very, very vibrant Colombian community in the UK,
which is very strong,
and even Latin, because there's a very vibrant Brazilian community. There's a Dominican. There's a but it's growing.
I do love Latin communities in America. I think it's beautiful how connected they are. There's hardly, well, from what I've heard.
Are you talking about United States or America?
United States. Okay. So I've only experienced it in certain parts, like New York and Miami, and both of them are very like Latin centered. They're very like empowered. They're very united. There's no actual, you know how here, I don't know, my experience, you have Colombians, Ecuadorians.
We are more segregated.
Over there, it's like even the Mexican, there's a bit more unity. I love that, and I think we could really embrace that here a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a massive topic in itself. The way of the identity in America to over here, because there's much more of them over there. So as a community in America understands them, whereas over here I feel like we're still educating people, and as time go on, the aim for this and these conversations to start is to actually educate people on how diverse and where we come from, because I feel like in this country our community is still very small. Although it has expanded, it's still very small. Therefore, we need to educate people, have these topics, and just really I think there's no shame in understanding where we come from and digging into that. Like you said before, it was a thing that wasn't spoken about, but now it's nice to be able to do that and understand the different places we come from.
And educate ourselves as well.
100%.
So we can
learn
educate our children from each other,
Definitely.
which I think this is why these conversations are so necessary and just so
beautiful to be
fair.
Really nice.
¡Ay, las quiero! So guys, we're gonna play a little game. Two options, one Colombian, one British. You answer what you think. Let's go. Each ask each other one.
Let's go. Milena, I am Bru or Colombiana?
Colombiana. Bueno, la próxima. Diana, reggaeton o garage?
Reggaeton. Oh no, ahora me toca a mí. I'm gonna do a really basic one. Okay. Adela, tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Yeah.
I drink tea.
I love tea.
I'm such a tea. I'm
Oh,
such a tea girl.
Joanne, Aguardiente or Ron?
Aguardiente.
They both gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Bandeja Paisa or Sunday roast.
I do love a cheeky roast.
I
I
do.
mean,
I
like
like
gravy and your
Not over
pudding.
Bandeja.
Laura, sausage roll.
I don't even like
Or
whatever the other one is.
Aborrajado.
I don't like sausage roll.
Walkers or Choclitos?
Are you really going to ask me that?
Let's get these questions.
Walkers.
Bonbon
No.
or dairy milk?
Bonbon.
Arequipe or Percy pigs?
Arequipe.
What's Percy?
Oye, arroz con leche or rice pudding?
Arroz con leche.
That's why I said it. Well, guys, that is actually a wrap for this topic. I really, really enjoyed this topic.
Yeah,
I feel like there's so much more after this topic to speak about, but I guess it all starts from here anyway. If you guys have any interesting comments below, and just in terms of this topic, it'd be really nice to see what you guys think. So make sure you comment down below. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow these girls below. And yeah, we're over and out. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.